虎さんもお気の毒に。いつかきっと仲直りをしてくれると信じていますけど。
Alright guys, welcome back to some more Umineko when they cry. Now, last time we began with talking a little bit about Beato's motive with Will and Leon. Leon not understanding what's going on, but you know, Will and Beato completely understand what's going on, and Burn. Me partly understand what's going on, not as much as Will and Leon, not as much as Will and Beato and Burn, of course, but definitely more than Leon does. I feel like Leon is supposed to represent the person that doesn't understand at all, because they haven't been able to get what's going on at all so far in the story, while Will represents the person that has understood everything. And I'm kind of in between, where I understand a little bit, but I don't feel like I understand everything. But then we move on to the whole thing with Backer leaving the family register, because, you know, the whole thing with his family, also dying, but then Rudolph married really quickly, and also had a child with Kyrie, and, you know, considering the timing of the pregnancy, and when Angel's born, that must mean that Rudolph did cheat on his wife back when she was still alive, and Back was angry at that, of course, because he feels that as a betrayal on his mother, and his mother isn't alive to be able to complain or hate him for it. Rudolph acknowledges that he sinned, and he acknowledges that there was a place in hell. You know, he deserves a spot because he acknowledges that what he did was wrong, basically. Is it as wrong as what Kinzo did? No. I still think what Kinzo did was worse. But, hey man, I guess someone told me this in an early part of Umineko, and I didn't really understand what they were saying back then, but things make more sense now. And someone told me this back when I was reading back in episode 1 or 2. So way before I learned anything bad about Rosa or Nazi or... Okay, we learned a little bit about, you know, we already learned about this whole Rudolph stuff early on, but I mean, I didn't fully think about the whole implications of it until after Angel's born in episode 4. That's when I realized, wait a minute, does that mean Rudolph must have cheated on his wife? So anyway, so the whole thing with Rudolph, right, the Nazi stuff, the Rosa stuff, you know, and while I may have been a bit ticked off by Eva, I didn't realize, you know, all the way she treated her son, you know, was like at the time, right? I didn't know about a whole bunch of things, okay? I didn't know about Kinzo at all. I mean, I didn't know how bad Kinzo was until recently. To be fair. So, but I remember someone saying in the comment section that, it's okay, I mean, a big part of the story, which, thinking back, I wish that person didn't tell me this. I wish that person didn't tell me this. Not like it ruined anything for me, but I feel like now reading this part of Umineko, I feel like I know that that's something. If I'm recommending Umineko to a new person reading Umineko, I would not tell him this. And this is what that person told me. That person told me a big part of Umineko is just, you know, figuring out who out of the characters in Umineko can you forgive and who can you not forgive, right? Who do you know, because, you know, people, you know, a lot of the characters in Umineko do bad things, right? Which one of them can you be okay with, and can you accept their actions, and can you accept, you know, the way they justify their actions, and which can you not accept it, right? And back then I kind of didn't understand the implications. I didn't really understand, obviously, what they could have meant by that, because back then the only bad, I don't even know who that person they were talking about was at the time. You know, they might have been talking about, I don't know, Eva or something. Eva saying something bad to Shannon or something in the earlier episodes, and that might be why they're saying, oh well, yeah, a lot of Umineko is about who you can forgive and who you can't forgive, right? But yeah, looking back now, that was actually kind of a thing that you shouldn't be telling someone that's new to Umineko. I feel like Umineko is largely best experienced completely blind. I feel like Also, I mean, yes, I can see why you'd say, I mean, it's not a spoiler, but it's not that it's a spoiler, it's about the experience. It's not like, of course you're not spoiling a plot point, but you're saying something that kind of sets a preconditioned thought to a certain reader coming into it, right? It's like you saying, you know, I also dislike when, you know, let's say you tell me, holy crap, I cannot wait for next part, this really special thing is going to happen. You know, and if you don't specify what it is, that just has me looking forward to next part, thinking something big is gonna happen. And it's not a spoiler, of course, but I don't feel like you should be telling someone that hasn't experienced the story. Just let them go into it blind. I feel like that's best. And I have had comments telling me that, yo, I'm so excited for next part, or next part is a part that got me so angry when I was first reading this. And I feel like you shouldn't be saying that. You should be sparing that comment until you actually get to the part. You know, when that part comes out, then you can go, alright, this part that you just uploaded, this part got me very angry when I was first reading it. Then it's okay, of course, because then I've already read it, I've experienced it, right? But then you're giving a blind reader something to look on to. Does that make sense? And I feel like, especially Umineko, maybe not as much in other stories, but especially Umineko, where I feel like a big part of it is just trying to reason things out on your own and trying to see these crazy moments on your own happen on your own blindly. I feel like you're really oops, I didn't mean to. What did I press? I didn't mean to press it. I think I pressed click on accident. But that's fine. What did Kumasawa even say anyway? Kumasawa said, how to I do believe that will make up eventually, but okay, yeah. It's a matter for the family. I agree with Genji. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. I do still feel like you're kinda I feel like you kind of do ruining a little bit of the blind part of it, if by saying that. At least that's my POV. If you disagree, that's fine. But I feel like even if you do disagree, I feel like this is one of those cases where you should still not say it anyway, even if you do disagree, if that makes sense. And the reason why I say that is because I've had times where something I've said was considered a spoiler by someone else, in a way, even though I didn't consider it a spoiler. And so learning the boundaries of that person, I was able to then not be able to say something that they consider a spoiler again, even if I didn't consider it a spoiler at all. And you know, this specific example is kind of very vague, but I'm saying, for example, like what I once said, right, is that I think, yeah, I once said that a story was very dark to someone, right? Yeah, now I remember. Oh yeah, this is going to be this is a dark story from what I remember reading. And a person told me, yo, you're telling me too much. Don't tell me that it's a dark story. And I was like, oh, okay, my bad. You know, I didn't know that your boundaries were like that when it comes to anything, right? And I didn't know that, right? Especially because you know that it's something that's a dark story the moment you read the first chapter or you watch the first episode or something. It's not like it's completely crazy that it's a dark story, right? But that person had these sort of boundaries. They didn't want to know anything about it, and I respect that. You know what I mean? I respect that, and you know, it is my fault at the end of the day for saying that. And that's the thing. Even if I disagree with that take, I still should keep the boundary of what that person thinks is a spoiler or not. So from that point onward, I stopped saying anything about the stories with that person, and we don't get in good terms ever since. So that's an example, right? Better be safe than sorry than accidentally spoil someone that feels like it's a spoiler. From their POV, it's a spoiler. From your POV, it might be completely fine to say. You don't see what's wrong with it, right? And I get that, and I understand not harmlessly thinking there's nothing wrong with what you're saying, but you have to think about it from the other person's POV. And you know, that time when I said that thing to the other person, I learned a lesson. Alright, my fault. I shouldn't have said that it's going to be a dark story. just like from now on, if I ever introduced Umineko to, if I was to ever introduce someone to Umineko, right, I wouldn't tell them it's a murder mystery. That would be like basically a spoiler in a way, right? I wouldn't tell them it's a murder mystery. I wouldn't tell them it's a romance. Because it kind of is, I don't tell them it's a story about love or about, forgiving other people's actions, which was what someone told me when I was back in the earlier episodes. I would just, what I would do? I would just give like the most vague synopsis, and the problem is with doing that is that with being so vague, it's hard to grip someone in. It's hard to explain why it's good. But with Umineko, it's one of those things where if you try to explain why it's good, you're spoiling it. You cannot explain why Umineko is good without spoiling it. And so the best way is to force someone to read it in a sense. You know what I mean? Force someone to read is to just say, trust me, it's good. I can't tell you why it's good, but it is good. Because if you try to explain why it's good, you're spoiling it. I can't tell someone it's a murder mystery. I can't tell someone it's a story about romance. Because I feel like it'll be spoiling the awesome bits when you figure out, oh my god, this is a murder mystery, or oh my, there's a romance going on. It's like a proper romance. I didn't figure out that there was going to be romance between Battery and Beato till episode 4. That's when I thought, wait a minute. There's a romantic thing going on between Battery and Beato? I did not see that one coming. You know what I mean? And that was awesome, figuring that out on my own and not having someone tell me, oh man, I cannot wait for you to get to the main romance bits, for example, right? Because I feel like that's part of what makes Umineko so good. So if I was to describe Umineko to someone who's never read it before, I'd just be like, it's about this rich family having an annual family conference every year, and the story takes place in just another one of those years where this family holds a family conference, and that's where the story starts. And that's all I'd say. And I'll say, I guess one more thing I could say is that the main character, because you find this out within an hour of reading Umineko, so it's not a spoiler, right? So the main character is one of the family members of this, and you get to experience the family conference with him. That's literally, I think, all I would say to describe Umineko. And I wouldn't even get to that saying that, the family is arguing about gold or something like that. I feel like even that is better to find out on your own. Even stuff like that, like, okay, the family's arguing about gold. Because if you think about it, at the very beginning of Umineko, you don't know that the family has gold struggles, right? Because you start off with meeting the family. You don't know that they're secretly adults arguing over gold, which is why I'm so glad I went in completely blind. When I went into Umineko, I went in completely blind. I didn't know that this family was struggling with that the different part of the family were struggling to find money. I didn't know that. I thought that something was uncanny with all the family members at first, but I didn't really think, this is a messed up family. It wasn't until Eva and Nazi started arguing, that's when I was like, hey, yo, this ain't your typical normal family talk. These women are crazy, bro. The way Eva was smiling, I remember that was such a huge shock to me. So if that was such a huge shock to me, I don't want to ruin that for someone who's new to Umineko. Anyway, I've talked about this for far too long. Point is, comment early on in Umineko that I kind of wish someone didn't tell me. It hasn't ruined Umineko at all for me. It hasn't really changed much at all. It's more a nitpick than anything, right? So there's that. Anyway, I don't feel like I'm even the biggest sword when it comes to spoilers either, right? I don't feel like I'm sort of person that's like, don't spoil me at all on anything, right? I feel like I'm average, where I'm not very strict on spoilers. Don't say anything and then you spoil me. But I'm also not very lenient either. I'm not super like, oh yeah, you can tell me that, I don't know. You can tell me that Beato does this in the next episode if you want. If you don't do, I don't really mind. I'm not super, I set some boundaries, but I don't think I set too extreme boundaries. I think I'm reasonable with my boundaries, personally. But maybe you disagree. Maybe you could disagree. Maybe from other people's perspective, I could be setting very strict boundaries, or not. I don't know. But Uh, one of the things that I wanted to say is let's keep reading because I've been talking for too long and I don't want to talk too much here. So let's go.
使用人の知るところではない。それよりも新しく白宮家に加わられるキリエ様のお顔を
キリエ
早く。
それもそうですね。今年の親族会議にはいらっしゃるんですからね。
Exciting! If the person new to the Sherman family will be coming to the conference, then what about the person who just left? I mean, he wouldn't be coming, duh.
ならバトラーは来ないってことじゃない？
そう考えるのが妥当であろうな。賑やかな男が一人だけ、なんとも寂しいものよ。
Though most people felt that it was sad to see Battle leave the Schumer family and that he would be missed, they didn't think any more about it than that. However, what about Shannon? Wasn't Battle supposed to comfort her on a white horse? At first, I was shocked, because I immediately thought that this departure from the family meant that he wouldn't be coming to this island anymore. And I do think that's understandable given how he must feel. I understand painfully well why he wanted to leave his family. But does that really mean he won't come back to Rockin' Gym anymore? What on earth is going on? Will he really never return? Unable to ask him this directly, I was forced to spend each day contending with a growing sense of anxiety. Battler son, I understand how you feel, but you wouldn't leave this place behind forever just because you broke away from the Ishima family, would you? Tell me it isn't true. I was so confused that the world seemed to be spinning around me. I felt tightness in my chest, and I couldn't think at all. When I happened to touch my cheek, I was surprised to find it hard and wet. With a miserable expression on my face, I was crying.
Shannon.
From far away, I could hear someone calling to me. But it was a very strange sort of distance. Though it felt very far away, the voice also seemed to be coming from right beside me.
Shannon, そなたの胸中察するぞ。
大丈夫よ。あくまでも親子喧嘩。そして噂話には尾ひれがつくものよ。きっと大げさに伝わってるだけだわ。
そうとも。もう二度とバトラがこの島に来ないと決まったわけではない。気を強く持つのだ。
Where is this place? I seem to remember it somehow. It's like it reminds me of the scenery of a strange dream I once had. Then, this must be another dream. I was there, under an arbor in a golden rose garden, and two witches in white and red dresses were showering words of encouragement upon me.
噂好きの若い使用人たちが話を好き勝手に膨らませているに違いないぞ。席を抜けたなどと大げさな。きっとただの親子喧嘩に違いないぞ。
ありがとう。そうだといいのですが。
そうに決まってるわ。男の子だもの。父親と喧嘩の一つくらいするわ。
そうともそうとも。すぐに頭を冷やして仲直りするに決まっているではないか。
男の喧嘩なんて火付きは良くてもすぐ燃え尽きちゃうものよ。
それに比べ女の喧嘩は炎こそ上がらぬが、いつまでも火種が残るものよ。男の喧嘩など激しくとも一時すがすがしいものよ。
そうですね。バトラさんとルドルフ様、早く仲直りするといいですね。
I also hope they make out soon. What? I didn't say that.
するとも、バトラはいつも言っていたであろうが、よく父親と喧嘩をすると。
I mean, if Kinzo can do it, what's stopping Rudolph? Ah, well, can't impregnate a male though. Was that too dark a joke? I think it might have been. Oh well. That person's gonna timestamp this too, isn't he? Or they. Or she. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry. I didn't mean. Sorry. I don't. Just like with Yasuda, I don't know your gender. My bad. But I know you, and you know who. I know you, and I know that you know that I know who you are. Right? Like we know each other. I know who you. You. This voice is going directly to you. I know you're going to timestamp this. I know you are. I know you're listening. And I know you're about to put that timestamp in. Going, haha, look, I haven't said something ridiculous. Moving on.
今回もそれらのうちの一つと変わらぬ。母親の死と父親の再婚で動揺したに過ぎぬわ。
祖父母の家へ行ってしまったそうだけど、どうせ2、3日も頭を冷やせば元の鞘に収まるわ。ほらあれよ、プチ家出ってやつね。
The two witches kept saying that Battler's fight hadn't been anything huge. If it was just a family quarrel, the rumors wouldn't have started in the first place. I just can't feel optimistic about this.
いずれにせよだ。これはバトラ親子の問題。放っておけば時間が解決してくれる。そなたが気に病んでも仕方がなきことよ。
今日バトラが来なかったからといってこれからも来ないと決めつけるのは早計だわ。今日はルドルフが一人でやってきただけの話。
そうとも。また次の親族会議では元気な姿を見せてくれるに決まっている。おそらくはそのうちキリエとやらを連れてやってくるであろう。その時にはふてくされながらも一緒に来てくれるに決まっている。
そうですね。うん、きっとそうですよね。
How nice would it be if they were right? In fact, if I could, I'd like to flip through the calendar until autumn right now and check to see whether he does come to the next conference. If he does, then all of my fears are groundless. It would mean the rumor-mongering family members and servants just blew things out of proportion. If Battler's son were right here, I'd like to question him right away. Hey, it isn't true that you'll never come to Rokujima again, right? If I could just hear him say, of course not, I could stop worrying about it. I don't know the phone number for Rudolph Sama's house, but I could probably look it up if I tried. However, as a servant of the family, I have no excuse for making the call. And anyway, I have no way of finding out the phone number at Batterson's grandparents' house. All I can do is wait for Rudolph Sama's family to come visit and hope that my fears are groundless. However, will I be able to make it through the day feeling like this? No way. I doubt I'll sleep a wink tonight. Just waiting around, feeling like this, when I don't know when my next chance will come. I can't do that. Will it be next month? Or the month after? In the worst case, I might have to wait until the next family conference. And and have to wait that long while holding back this suffocating feeling? I can't bear it.
ねえ、シャノン。唐突に尋ねるけれど、あなたがした1年後までの決意というのは、この島の使用人を辞めることを決めるだけの決意じゃないでしょう？
それは。
It was to make up my mind to start a new life, instead of remaining a servant by force of habit. I'm supposed to resolve to step into a new life and leave my old life as a servant behind.
そしてその決意の日に迎えに来るとバトラは約束してくれたんじゃなかった？
Can I be a little bit of a devil's advocate here, on the flip side? Can I?
それは。はい。
Can I be a little devil's advocate here? Okay. Now, think about it, y'all. I'm not saying that what's happening right now is fine, or that Shannon is better off feeling like this, or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But please try to understand what I'm about to say here, because I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to anger anybody. But would things have worked out that much better if on the other side? Even if Shannon were to go with George, actually forget George right now. If Batter had come back next year, and Shannon had resolved to quit being a servant, and to start a new life with Batter, and to to get in a relationship with Batter, and who knows, maybe they eventually, get properly married eventually. Who knows? Like George eventually ends up trying to do. What of Genji? Your boy Genji. He's gonna see that happen. He's gonna see that Batter is trying to get married to a girl that he is not aware is actually his biological cousin. Half cousin, but still his biological cousin. Not only that, she's also his biological aunt. Half aunt, but still, it's there. They are blood related. They share the same grandparent, and for Shannon's sake, she also has him as a father. He's both her grandfather and her father. But neither Battler nor Shannon are aware of this. How would it be if things did work out and they did get in a relationship? What would Genji do? Let's say would Genji tell him the truth? Would things have been better? What if Kinzo then, before dying, at some point between 1984 and 1985, between October 1984 and October 1985, Kinzo dies, right? What if Kinzo, right, eventually finds out about the relationship and finds out that Shannon is during Beatrice's daughter that actually still survived, or not daughter but child, you know what I mean? I don't mean to gender the person, but you know what I mean, right? The child that survived the fall. Kinzo comes to learn this, and comes to learn that she's dating Batter, and that she used to work as a servant for her entire life, for the family, until now. And she's dating Batter now. And Genji then knows this too. Genji would be the first one to know this, obviously. Would things have worked out better? What would Kinzo have done about that marriage? What would Genji have done about that marriage? would things really have gone as smoothly as one could expect? Because now we know how messed up it all is, everything is. Would things have really have worked out that smoothly? What if Battler eventually learned the truth? I mean, there is an option here where Genji and Kinzo stay silent. I mean, either option sounds horrible to me. Genji and Kinzo stay silent, even though they know the truth. Because, obviously, if they say it, everything's gonna explode. It's going to explode. Tell Battler about who Shannon really is, and Shannon about who she really is, and what's going on with Battler. Things will blow up. Everything will explode. Everything will go boom boom. Okay, that relationship is gonna be crazy. But if you don't tell them, if you're Genji and Kinzo and you don't say anything, you're also guilty because you're not telling them, right? You're not, right? I mean, because you're fully aware that they're biologically related, but they're both not aware that they're biologically related to each other, but they're still dating, but they're not aware they're biologically related to each other. And you don't say anything so as to not cause a huge blow to the entire family. That's also very, very bad. Either scenario sounds very bad. The scenario in which Battler and Shannon really get together sounds very bad either way, in my opinion. Okay? So, am I saying that Shannon is better off, not, if Shannon's life is better off not having Battler come back, or, not Shannon's life, but in general, is fate better off with Battler not coming back? Of course not. Because, I mean, what ends up happening anyway is that 18 people are massacred in the end. In the end, 18 people die in 1986. So that doesn't that still remains. That's what happens when Battler doesn't come back. Okay. But if Battler did come back, it still would spiral into absolute madness. Now here's the thing. What if Battler doesn't come back? Not even in 1986, Battler doesn't come back either. However, George and Shannon's relationship succeeds. Not Canon and Jessica, George does. Because remember that Shannon won the love duel, not Canon. So George and Shannon's love duel, relationship succeeds. He gives her the ring. The massacre doesn't happen. What then? They're still biologically related, those two. Okay? Right? They still share a grandparent. And in Shannon's case, she's also his aunt. That's still really bad. I think we can, for the most part, agree on that, right? That's still a very undesirable thing. What would, again, Genji and Kinzo? I guess Kinzo by 1986 is dead, sure. But we know that Shannon eventually ends up solving the epitaph if Battler doesn't return. So Shannon would know the truth by the time George proposes to her. Okay? And Genji's probably the one that told her the truth to begin with. Would things have gone neatly? Do Shannon and Genji just decide? But they both of them knowing the truth. Do they just decide to go through the marriage? I mean, yes, of course, Eva doesn't prove it. Hideyoshi doesn't necessarily prove it, but I feel like Hideyoshi can be convinced to be okay with it. Eva's going to be a rough one because Eva wants George to be the next head, and she's not even aware that, ironically enough, marrying Shannon is actually the direct best way to become the next head. So Eva's not aware of this, which is very ironic. I've just now thought about this. Yes, of course, marrying Shannon would be how you become the next head. That George is literally sneaking into becoming the next head, and he's not even aware of it, and Eva's not even aware of it, and that's awesome in my opinion. But things would have been really bad, right? Either way. And I'm thinking now, what if George found out the truth? Seems like Shannon still would have been fine pursuing love with George despite being his aunt and his cousin. Seems like Genji, after Kin's death, would have allowed it because Shannon's now the new head, and if she chose George, then so be it. It would be another incestuous relationship, right? But what then? But what do we have now? An incestuous relationship. Genji, I feel like, would have allowed it, in a way. Shannon seemed to be okay going through with it. But George needs to be told the truth here. If George had been told the truth, would he still have kept going with his relationship with Shannon? How strong is George's resolve? Now, my personal opinion now, after hearing George's resolve so much in episode 4 and especially in episode 6 as well, both those episodes, I feel like yes. I feel like George, even after he learned the truth of who Shannon really is, he still feels like Shannon is deserving of love. And that while it would be incestuous, it would be very, very wrong. I feel like I'd be disrespecting George's resolve for how he said that nothing would go in the way, nothing would stop him and George being together, being in a relationship together. He said nothing would stop that. He said he was prepared. He had the resolve to kill his own mother, by the way, just for the sake of burying Shannon, by the way, because we saw that in episode 6, right? It was said that, yeah, sure, George didn't really kill his mother in that scene, but he had the resolve to do it. He was prepared to do it in that love trial. And so, if my man was willing to go so far, right, to just stomp on his own mother to be able to marry someone that she didn't approve of, do I think incest would stop him? I don't think so. I think George would go all the way through. Now, before you guys get on me for saying this, I acknowledge George's resolve. I don't condone that action. I don't condone him going being in a relationship with Shannon. Of course, I would disapprove of it myself. Not because of Eva's reasons, but because of the incest reasons. I do not approve of him marrying Shannon, but I acknowledge his resolve. That's a different thing. Those are separate things. I can acknowledge that he has resolved, and I can acknowledge that he still probably would have stuck with it, even if he knew that Shannon is related to him, right? It's a similar thing to how I can acknowledge that, you know, Shannon's feelings or Berto's feelings for going on a killing spree doesn't mean I condone it, doesn't mean I'm okay with it. In fact, I'll say this right now, no matter what Berto's motivation is, no matter what Berto's motive is, it literally does not matter what it is. He could have... actually, not no matter what. There are motives in which maybe... Like, for example, if a soldier... For example, okay, if a soldier is at war, is being forced to go to war by his country, and he's being... you know, there are 18 people coming to kill him, and he's hiding in a shelter or something, 18 people are coming to kill him, then I feel like he's justified in self-defense, in killing those 18 people. So, that motive to just save himself by killing those 18 people who are trying to kill him, that's self-defense in that sense, sure, that's an acceptable motive. That's an acceptable motive. So I wouldn't say that no matter what motive, I wouldn't say that, but from what we've seen, this was a murder. This was a planned murder, okay? Berto went through with a planned murder, and she even acknowledges that what she did was wrong. So I don't think we have to think about this as a self-defense thing. I think Berto really did plan a murder here. So in this specific case, I feel like I can confidently say that no matter the motive, I will not condone, and I will continue to not condone Berto's actions in killing everyone. No matter what the motive is, alright? Like, bro, they could have done some horrible things to Shannon, right? Some horrible physical, emotional things, right? I mean, much worse than just her learning. Even if they all, let's say, abused her and did all sorts of bad stuff, I still would not condone her killing spree. I'd understand her feelings. I'd accept it. Yeah, okay. I understand why you feel you're justified in going on a killing spree, but I wouldn't be okay with it, and I would tell her not to do it if I could, of course. That's because that's just the way it is, okay? You don't massacre people. I understand why she do it. I'm not saying that I'm a perfect human being and that I wouldn't do it if I was Shannon myself. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I'm not okay with it, okay? And I can say this too, because even Shannon herself isn't okay with it. She even says it herself that that's not an okay thing to do. You shouldn't be doing that. Even Shannon herself, or Beato, said last part that yeah, I did something as horrible as going on a serial massacring people. That's crazy. Even she herself thinks it's crazy. So, you know, and it's important that we learn that now, that she thinks it's absolutely nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with almost all other characters. Nazi as well. I understand why she rejected the baby. I'm not okay with her throwing the baby off the cliff or the whole accident with the servant and the baby, which is obviously Beato, Yasuda. But I understand why she did that. I understand why she sinned there. I understand all of it. I'm not gonna say that it's okay, but I get it. Same thing with Rosa. I understand why she neglected Maria and, well, was abusing her, wasn't being a proper, an actual mother to her. I understand it. Etc, 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 right? There are many other characters in Umineko that we can get at for their faults, right? Rudolph, we just saw very recently with Rudolph, but we also have other characters too. Kyrie is not excluded. You also have, Eva, etc., etc., Genji, Nanjo. I mean, all these characters have done things that I feel like you can definitely question. But, point is, just because you understand why someone did something, understand their motive, doesn't mean that you're okay with it. So, yeah. Okay, so, I just went on a big tangent there, a big digression, where I proposed a different scenario in which Battler did actually come back. And I feel like things would have still gone pretty bad. Obviously not 18 people were massacred levels of bad, but there weren't really a lot of ways that things would have worked out well for everybody. And that's just how life is, you know? I mean, Shannon was just dealt with the worst fate in this case. But I feel like with life in general, not much with Shannon, but with me too, and with you guys watching as well, I'm sure fate just doesn't go the way that it always, that makes everyone happy, okay? Fate works in ways that will have others, be fortunate from it, and others be extremely depressed from it. And that's how it is in life, and that is how it is in this visual novel as well. And Shannon just got dealt a bad card here, it seems like. And I'm saying that even if the card was dealt a little bit differently, things would still have been bad. There were not a lot of different possible scenarios in the future where I could see things ending very, very, very well for Shannon and for the Shuma family in general. Alright? And this entire mess can really be rooted to Kinzo. Honestly, this entire mess can truly be rooted to Kinzo. So, Kinzo's mistakes, Kinzo's actions, are really what have led all of this to happen. Honestly, so. But Kinzo's not alone, right? I mean, the fate of Shannon or of Beato is more than just Kinzo's alone. A lot of things built up to what happened, right? I mean, Kinzo's the root of it, right? But Nazi as well, all these older servants, the way they treated her, and Backer himself, right? George and Jessica, all of these people affected the way Shannon's fate went, the way, not Shannon, but I should say Beato's fate went, the way the culprit's fate went, right? all these people affected it. It's not like Kinzo alone could have made this happen. But if Kinzo had spent his life a little bit differently, not all this would have been avoided. Yasuda would have never existed to begin with, to be fair. Yasuda shouldn't have existed to begin with. I say shouldn't have. I know that's a crazy thing to say now, but I feel like if you're Yasuda, I feel like that's what you witness, right? I exist, but I shouldn't exist. And that is probably one of the most horrible things someone could come to a realization to, right? I feel like I can't understate how horrible it must be for Shannon or Yasuda, I guess, to solve the epitaph and to learn that your entire existence, your entire life existence, shouldn't exist. Right? I shouldn't exist in any capacity. I should not. I shouldn't be here. Right? I only exist because my father did, father quote unquote, did something absolutely horrible, disgusting, and that is something that no father should ever do. And if no father, and if every father, didn't do something this disgusting, that would imply that I shouldn't exist because I'm the product of an absolutely disgusting action, right? And I feel like realizing that your entire existence is ultimately not worthless, but something that shouldn't have existed would be a horrible feeling to feel. And that's not to say that Shannon is worthless, because guess what? She does exist now. Yasuda's been born. She does exist now, and she has every right to live her life, or his life, or their life. You know what I mean, right? I don't mean to gender Yasuda on purpose here, to misgender them, by the way. If I say her and she, that's just what I'm thinking. Okay, that I don't really mean to do that. You know what I mean? Back on track. Yasuda, I feel like after she's born, she's born. Alright? She exists, she has every right to live just like every other human, right? You could argue she shouldn't exist, but that's it. The deed has been done. Kinzo did what he did. Shannon is now a full-fledged human. She's 19 years old, right? That's it. She exists. Now, she can just move on and live as a functioning human in society, okay? Maybe she has some issues with multiple personalities, but those just need to be worked through. That's all it is, okay? And it's not like, while incest can, ruin, can damage the biological genetic composition of a human being, it's not the complete end of the world. If Shannon wanted to find love, she could. Alright, she could. And she deserves to find love in her own way, because she's not at fault for what her father did. She's not at fault for how her life ended up being, okay? So she deserves every right to live just like everyone else. And, yeah. Even after finding out that her existence ultimately shouldn't have existed, now that she does exist, it is what it is. Life is crazy. So yeah. And this part has been very deep, at least from my end. I've been talking about very deep discussions here, so let's just keep reading. But yeah, Umineko, tragic story. So at least from what we've seen so far, I'm sure it's only gonna get more tragic. I mean, we know it's going to get more tragic because we're just going to see more of Shannon's suffering here because of Battler's absence. So, alright, let's keep reading.
わらわは言葉を選ばぬから言おう。それはつまり、バトラと共に新しい人生を踏み出そうという決意ではないのか。
バトラさんと新しい人生。
そなたは決意の日にバトラが迎えに来てくれないかもしれないと恐れている。しかし決意の日はバトラが迎えに来てくれることだけを意味するのではないぞ。
あなたがバトラとこれからの人生を共に歩む決意を示す日でもあるのよ。
その決意はそなたが自らするものだ。バトラがただ来てくれるだけで成し得るものではないぞ。
シャノン、あなたにはもうこれからの人生を彼と歩む決意はあるの？それがまだないから次の親族会議の日に決心するなんて言ったんでしょ？
バトラと人生を共に歩むとはどういうことなのか、そなたは真剣に考えたことはあるのか？
それはその
As long as I'm working as a servant of Nokenjima, my opportunities for meeting him are limited. We're both underage, so it's too early to talk about marriage. However, if I quit working as a servant, I should have many more opportunities to meet him. Once I quit work here, I'll return to the Gospel House. I have my wages for serving the family, so I should have more than enough to make visits to Battlerson's house. And when I graduate from school, I can rent an apartment near to Battlerson's house. Then, well, I can work while going to school. That life will be a lot more difficult than my vague conception of it. However, I'll be able to see Battlersons much more often. If not every day, then every week. I won't be a servant anymore, so we'll finally be equals. I'll be allowed to call him whenever I want. And I'm already balancing school and work. Thanks to my experience here, I know more than enough to do simple housework.
楽しそうな人生ではないか。ささやかな住まいを借りて自分の城を築けたなら、ぜひバトラを招待するがよい。
そうして新しい二人の時間、二人の世界が始まっていくのね。
It takes two people to make a universe.
素敵じゃない。
はい、ちょっと素敵ですよね。
This was the first time I had ever imagined that future clearly. I've been able to appreciate the feeling of my love for him, and my honest desire to live my life with him. However, now that I have a clear picture of the future I plan to choose, I finally understand. I need to mentally commit myself to embarking on this future.
やがては結婚だって夢見ちゃってるわけでしょ。
ほうほう、結婚前提とは最近の小娘は進んでおるわ。
そこまでは
夢を否定しないで。未来を見据えぬ目を閉じたままの第一歩に何の意味もないんだから。
惚れた男なら結婚しちゃったりしてと夢見ても何の罪もないぞ。それが乙女の特権であるわ。
Marriage is a very acceptable dream. It's understandable. I feel like I do think a lot of people look on with it as like a goal point in their life, me included. To be fair, you know, I'm not married yet, and it's not really a dream I have. Honestly, it's not my goal. I don't pursue life in order to get married, right? Getting married sounds to me like a goalpost, like something that I hit when I get there. But my main focus is not on marriage. That's like a secondary thing. It's like when it becomes available, I'll choose it. You know what I mean? So it's a very natural thing, of course. Doesn't have to be mandatory. Not everyone has to go through with it. you can absolutely choose to live your life without getting married. That is up to you, of course. But yeah, that is, she if she wants to get married, that is absolutely understandable, acceptable. My face had turned bright red. Before today, I thought that considering marriage really was a bit premature, and I'd been trying my best not to think about it. However, now that the witches had encouraged me to imagine it, and that image was both exciting and fresh, I get it, you know, because it's a whole different life. In a way, marriage is kind of crazy, right? Because if you haven't been married, you absolutely don't understand what it could be like, right? Because that's a whole different life. Now, every single day of your life, you're living it with a whole nother person, right? I mean, you're sleeping in the same bed, you're waking up together or something, right? You're eating together every single day, right? That's like, you're not living as a single person anymore, you're living as two people. In a way, you're living a double life, not completely, but you see what I mean? It's completely different than how you would be living prior to marriage. I guess maybe having a girlfriend or boyfriend is somewhat similar, but you know it's not the same, right? Because, I mean, commonly maybe you have a boyfriend and he lives somewhere else, right? And then you visit him or something, but it's not really, you don't really spend every single day of your life together properly like that, right? So in a way, marriage is such a shifts your life completely, shifts every it really does. It really is a big change to life, right? Because every single day you spend is completely different than how you spent the first couple decades of your life, right? I mean, you spend, let's say, almost 30 years not being married, and then you get married, and then let's assume that the marriage goes relatively well, okay? Let's assume that, you know, marriage lasts until you're both at least 70, you and your partner. Let's say from 30 to 70, right? So you spent the first half of your life-ish not being married, living a completely different life, and then you have to take this huge shift when you're now married. Now you're living with your partner, and maybe even have kids. That's another big shift in your life, because that's crazy. And then you're 70, and then who knows what happens after that. But or of course, unfortunate things could happen, like with Asumi's case with Rudolph. They could die early, or you could have what happened between Rosa and her husband, or not husband, sorry, boyfriend actually. Rosa gave birth to Maria without getting married to the guy. But you know what I mean, right? Sometimes things are unfortunate, but you know what I mean, right? So in a way, getting married is a completely different shift of life. So if you choose to get married, you do also have to really prepare for that, right? If you really want to get married. But yeah. That seems to be Shannon's dream here. She wants to get married one day, but I will say to her, you know, not something to be stressed about right now. It could be a dream. You're allowed to dream about that, but it's not something to be stressed about right now. At all, right? Pursue your goals first, right? Pursue your school first. Do well at school. Serve the human family well, so that you can stop working as a servant and be accepted, elsewhere after you're done with school. And you can probably find, using your clout from your human family. And of course, I mean, she doesn't know that she's the next head, but you know what I mean. Using the clout from your human family, her education, school, try and get a good job, a good place to live, and all that stuff, and then get along with better. Or maybe you just get along with better and then find a place to live, for example, right? Marriage doesn't have to be something to stress about right now. Like what I'm doing right now. Look at me, Amin. I'm studying. I'm fully focused on my studies, right? I mean, I'm not for a second. I'm not spending a second of my day thinking about marriage, or if how I'm gonna get married, how it's gonna go down. I'm not even wasting time to think about that, because like I said, it is a waste of time. It would be a waste of time. Why should I spend my time now wasting it on thinking about how my marriage will go, rather than studying, so that when it does eventually come, I can actually properly focus on it. You know what I mean? That sounds like such a waste for me. So you have time, basically. I felt an indescribable feeling of refreshment and awakening. Like the gentle breeze that washes over you when you go outside during a brief spot of sunshine on a rainy day. Certainly, I hadn't yet reached that level of resolve. I need to create that resolve by the time the next family conference comes around. If I can't do that, then sticking around as a servant on this island is no more than I deserve.
そしてそれは同時に試練でもあるのよ。
So she makes that resolve, and this is a trial. But by the time she actually has resolved herself, and she's prepared by the next family conference, battle doesn't arrive again. So she's like, what the hell? I resolved myself to go out with you, and you ain't coming back. Wild.
確かにこれは試練であるな。
試練？どうしてですか？
愚か者め、バトラは次の親族会議に迎えに来るとそなたに約束したではないか。
白馬にまたがって迎えに来るってね。
はい。
そなたはバトラがもう来ないと思っている。つまりそれはバトラの約束を信じないということではないのか？
だからこれは試練なのよ。彼を信じて待つというあなたへの試練。
試練。
I never thought of it that way. Since he promised to come for me in a year, I must believe that he will come for me in a year. If I doubt that, I don't have the right to wait for him in the first place.
バトラが後ろ宮家を抜けたのだって案外そなたとの未来を見据えてのことなのかもしれぬぞ。
あら、どうして？
二人で暮らし将来婚姻の契りを交わすことまで見通したなら、後ろ宮家の使用人であるシャノンと結ばれるには後ろ宮の姓が邪魔をすることもあるかもしれぬ。
That's some very optimistic thinking right there.
ああ、なるほど。使用人の娘と結ばれるなんてギャンギャンって言われることを見越して先に後ろ宮の姓を捨てたってわけね。
Hey man, I can respect the optimism at least.
どうだシャノン、これならば全てに筋は通るというもの。バトラが後ろ宮の名を捨てたのはそなたを考えてのことよ。ルドルフとの唐突な親子喧嘩はそれをもっともらしくする口実に違いあるまい。
素敵な推理だわ。さすがリーチェ。
Man, she should try solving detective novels.
どうだシャノン、落ち込むには値しないではないか。それどころかそなたと結ばれるためにバトラが先に決意を見せたようなものではないか。
Smile finally returned to my face. Wow, she's really exciting herself. Of course, I hadn't taken the witches seriously and let myself be reassured. The opposite, in fact. It was just funny that they could think up such ridiculously convenient explanations for everything. However, they had made all of those ridiculous theories to cheer me up. The witches are right when they say that I must trust Battlerson, and that there's no point moping about just because I've heard a few rumors. By the date of the next family conference, I intend to have a firm resolve to live my life with him. And I believe that he'll accept my feelings and comfort me. The idea that Battler left the family so that he could be married to me someday is laughable, of course. But right now, I should try to feel confident enough to accept even crazy ideas like that.
ありがとうございます。なんだか少し気分が楽になりました。
ならばよかった。そなたが悲しみで枕を濡らすのを見るのは耐えられんのでな。
私の夢の中にまでやってきて励ましてくれて本当にありがとう。
もうじき朝になる。すべては夢。そなたは目覚めれば何も覚えてはいない。しかしそなたの心に静寂は戻る。
はい、私は彼を信じて待つ。だから小さな噂話になんか耳を貸さないんです。
そうだ、次の親族会議まで自分を磨きながら待つのだ。花嫁修行と思えば日々のつまらぬ雑事も彩りを帯びよう。
本当にありがとう。
リーチェ、もう朝になるわ。
そうか。それではさらばだ、シャノン。そなたはわらわを覚えてはいまい。しかしわらわはいつもそなたのそばにいてそなたを見守っているぞ。
ありがとう、ありがとう。
次の親族会議など瞬く間よ。のんびりと待つがよい。必ずバトラは約束を守るのだから。
One year later. (1981) Cool.
はじめまして。
Kid introduces herself. Nice, nice, nice.
キリエと申します。よろしくお願いいたします。名前だけならアスムさんより前から知ってるわ。
Hahaha, that's funny. You know why I'm really mad though? We didn't get to see Asumu Sprite. We don't know how Asumu looks like, and that makes me angry. You're telling me you can make a sprite for friggin' Kumasawa's son, for Nanjo's son, but couldn't do it for Asumu? Okay, visual novel. I see how it is. We have issues. We have deep, deep-rooted issues. Just because you couldn't make a sprite for Asumu. I'm disappointed. Disappointed. I'm not gonna lie, visual novel. I'm disappointed. I'm not happy you did that.
ルドルフの昔からのガールフレンドって。
Alright, the rumors are popping about, and she ain't even wrong to be fair. Well, I don't know about girlfriend, but you know, Rudolph did cheat on his wife with hers.
ええ、ご縁は随分になりますので。後ろ宮家へようこそ。当家に早く馴染まれることを期待します。はい、私も早く慣れて夫をサポートできるようになろうと思います。
それにしても可愛いお嬢ちゃんや。名前はなんて言うんや？
Ushiromiya Angie.
エンジちゃんですって。可愛らしい名前ね。
やはり仲直りはできなかったのかね。
よりを戻すならこの機会と思ったんだがな。親父に似て頑固なやつでね。
もうバトラ君は帰ってこないの？寂しくなるわ。
Rosa, I miss you too. Rosa, I miss you too. Rosa, I love you. Rosa, we stand for you, bro. We stand for you. Here in this building, we will not tolerate Rosa slander. We love you, Rosa. We love you, Rosa. I'm Luffy Gang, rise up. We love Rosa. I will not accept Otherwise, no. If she misses me, who else is saying that? Who else is saying that? Eva ain't saying that about me. Different Nazi, they support me. Nazi, they support me. Nazi, there, Nazi. But that's because Nazi is also my goal. Nazi is my goal too. Both Nazi and Rosa, they're the two. You know, they're two mothers. I want to hug both of them. All right, they're both great. All right, they're both lovely. All right. But Hideyoshi ain't saying that. Cross ain't saying that about me. They ain't saying they miss me. As if. Zigbar, where you at? Line me up. Zigbar. Tell me. As if. I want your voice saying that. Kinzo ain't saying he's gonna miss me. Genji ain't saying that. Goro didn't exist yet, or he wasn't exist yet. Kumasawa ain't saying that. My own dad ain't freaking saying that, bro. Kirie ain't going to be saying it, or at least she won't mean it. We know that for a fact. George and Jessica might, because... but... Rosa's saying that. That's when you know she's special. She's special. Rosa ain't like the other women. I'm telling you. She ain't like the others. She's special. I'll miss you too, Rosa. I won't be back until 1986, but I'm sure you will look as lovely as ever, and I know you do because your sprite looks the exact same in 1986. So I know you do not change at a cinch. Love you, Rosa. Thanks for everything. I'll miss you too. Okay, nothing wrong with loving Rosa. The freak, are you trying to stop? Hey, Hideyoshi, you're trying to stop me? You don't think I should meet Rosa a little bit? I could meet Rosa at least once a year. What's wrong with you, bro? I don't want to get on bad terms with you, Hideyoshi. But I'm watching you. I'm looking at you. Don't you dare, bro. Catch up.
そういう男はな、きっとビッグになって帰ってくるで。
そう？バトラ君にとってもう今のお家はお家じゃないもの。帰る場所はもはやそこじゃないわ。
Battler isn't home for him. There's no need for you to go back there. Home for who? Who's him? I'm him. Battler's him. I get that, but as in, I get that. I mean, I'm him. He's him. I get that joke, but what do you mean Battler isn't home for him? What are you talking about?
吉田前、ルドルフの家の都合だ。私たちが詮索することではない。
See? Ain't none of these three people said that they'll miss me, but Rosa did. See that? I knew it. And I bet... I'm not gonna slander any more people, but you know Rosa's the GOAT.
ありがとう、クラスニさん。それは私たち家族の問題です。
家族。
でも、バトラ君がルドルフさんと一緒に暮らせる日が来るよう、私も努力をするつもりです。だって、エンジェのたった一人のお兄ちゃんなんですから。
ああ、バトラめ。意固地になっちまってて、今は何を言っても逆効果だ。アスムのお父さんがちょっと短気な人でね、焚きつけちまってるみたいでね。
大丈夫よ。きっと遠くないうちにルドルフさんの気持ちを理解してくれるわよ。
わしらには応援しかでき、仮に帰ってこないにしても、はよう仲直りできるのを祈っとるで。
バトラが来ないとなんだかつまらねえぜ。
そうだね。早くルドルフおじさんと仲直りしてくれればいいのに。
バトラ様の気持ちを考えると辛いです。
急に家族が変わっちまったようなもんだしな。家が居心地悪いってのもあるだろうぜ。
男にはいつか独り立ちしなければならない日もある。バトラ君にとってはもうそれが訪れたという話なのかもしれないな。
そうなのですか？
そうさ。男がいつまでも両親のもとでぬくぬくしていたらかっこ悪いよ。 荒々しく巣を飛び出して一旗あげなくちゃいけない。僕もやがてはと思ってたけど、彼に先を越されてしまったよ。
一旗あげて立派になったら帰ってきてくれるのでしょうか。
ひょっとしたらもう帰ってこないこともある。だってこれは彼にとって巣立ちなのかもしれないのだから。
巣立ち。
バトラ来なかったわね。
ああ、なんということだ。わらわはシャノンにきっと来るからと何度も言ってしまったぞ。きっとシャノンはバトラが来なくて深く落ち込んでいるに違いない。わらわがいい加減なことを言って希望を持たせてしまったから。
親族会議の今日を張り合いに生きてきたようなもんだしね。彼女の気持ちを考えると心が痛むわ。
ありがとうございます。私は大丈夫です。
No, you're not. Stop lying to yourself. I had been reunited with the witches once again in that dream world. Though I could never remember anything during the day, now that I was in the dream world, I somehow knew that this was a reunion. The witches both looked apologetic. Though they had tried to cheer me up by saying that Bat would come today. Now that he hadn't come, it was like they had been lying, and they seemed to regret it heavily.
シャノン、
お気遣いをありがとうございます。悲しくなんかないといえば、もちろん私は大丈夫ですから。
No, you won't.
そうか？そうなのか？ならば良いのだが。
バトラのやつ派手に喧嘩したもんだからきっと引っ込みがつかなくなっちゃっただけに決まってるわ。男は意地っ張りだもの。
そうであるとも。威勢のいいこと言って飛び出したものだから、今さら引っ込みがつかなくなって意地になってしまっただけに違いあるまい。きっと来ればよかったと後悔しているはずだ。そうとも、そうであるとも。
For some reason, they seemed nearly desperate in their attempts to encourage me. It was almost funny to watch. I couldn't help but giggle.
本当にありがとうございます。だって言ったのは皆さんじゃないですか。これは試練だって。
The truth was, I couldn't really fool myself so easily. When will you come back? When will you come for me? When isn't the question. Will you come for me ever? If I start moping right now, the uncertainty and sadness will probably tear me apart. But they've taught me. This is a test to see whether I really have faith in him or not. The very fact that I feel uncertain and anxious is a betrayal of my resolve, and of his promise to come for me someday.
ジョージ様が言ってました。これはバトラさんの巣立ちかもしれないって。
そうよ。これは後ろ宮の姓を抜け出て一人の男として羽ばたくという巣立ちなんだわ。
よくよく考えれば私たちはまだ若いんですし、本当に結ばれようと思ったらまだまだ社会的経験も信用も何より年齢が足りません。バトラさんが本当に真剣に考えてくださったならばこそ、まだ迎えに来られるわけがないんです。
見事であるぞ。そうだ、その域であるぞ。よくぞその境地に達した。
達せてなんかいません。でも今はそう思うことにします。それが試練でバトラさんを信じるということなんですから。
if he had showed up today, then today I would have had to inform Madame that I was quitting my job as a servant. But was I mentally prepared for that? I spent all last night worrying about whether Batterson would come or not. I spent so much time worrying that not only was I not mentally prepared to quit my job, I didn't even prepare a letter of resignation. In short, I still don't have the resolve that I promised him that day. I'm sure that God knew that. Battle is supposed to come for me when I found my resolve. I wasn't resolved, so it's only natural that he didn't come today. Yeah, it all makes sense now.
だからきっとバトラさんがいらっしゃらなかったのは私の決意がまだだったからです。彼が来てくれるかをしっかりと信じることもできなかった私ではそれも当然ですね。
おそらくバトラもそうであったに違いないぞ。そなたを迎えに行くだけの決意や覚悟がまだまだ足りなかったに違いない。
神様は薄情じゃないわ。二人の気持ちが本当に近づいた時、必ず二人を引き合わせてくれるわ。
織姫と彦星のようにな。
Gotta read about that story, don't I? Tips. Grimoire. Orihime and Hikoboshi. So Orihime, I only know about Orihime from Bleach. I don't know about any other Orihime. In the legend of the Tanabata, so Tanabata, okay, a Japanese festival held on the 7th day of the 7th month. Orihime, so Orihime, that, and that Hikoboshi, are celestial lovers represented by the stars Vega and Altair. Altair, like the Assassin's Creed character, Assassin's Creed 1. I should really play the Assassin's Creed games on my channel at some point. I know I did a live stream of the second game, Assassin's Creed 2, years ago now. That must have been, what, 3 years ago maybe even. How long ago was that live stream? It was old. But yeah, I say old, relatively old. Yeah, I want to get back to that one day. Okay, Tanabata on the 7th of the 7th month, 7th of July. Okay. 7th of July, that's the infamous day of Fairy Tail. That's when things went down in Fairy Tail. That's like the day of horribleness. Okay. The legend states that Orihime and Hikoboshi were placed on opposite sides of the heavenly river that is the Milky Way and forbidden from meeting, except for once per year on Tanabata, when magpies create the bridge across the river to bring the lovers together. However, if it rains on Tanabata, the rise of the river prevents the lovers from meeting, and they must wait another year. Okay, that's the story that she's referencing. Got it.
今年の七夕はたまたま天気が悪かった。今日のことはその程度に思おうと思います。
That's how I'd like to think about it. I have no other choice. Battler's son. This is where I'll end it, I think.
でもバトラ君が帰ってくるのは
Yeah, this is where I'll end it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this part of Umineko when they cry. And this has been a surprisingly deep part of Umineko from my end. Because I've just been so... I've talked a lot this part. I haven't really progressed the story that much, but I've definitely spent a long time talking about how different possibilities and about how tragic this whole thing is. Just discuss the general situation and stuff. So, spending a lot of time doing that. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this part of Umineko, at least as much as I enjoyed reading it. And I hope you guys have enjoyed my many monologues this part, because this part I really went ham on just talking and talking and talking for a long time. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time for some more Umineko. And yeah, alright, yo. Peace.